A major hack followed by a leak means some of your most sensitive personal information may already be exposed.
And we are talking about Social Security numbers and more. Fox 5's Josh Rosenthal tonight in Northwest with what you need to know.
Your Social Security number, my Social Security number, all of our Social Security numbers potentially hacked.
Is this legit that every American's Social Security number may be out there?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Here's the deal. A group of hackers reportedly claims to have stolen nearly 3 billion records of personal information, including names, Social Security numbers, and addresses. Then it was all leaked. It's believed the information comes from a business called National Public Data, which, according to its website, is used by other companies to obtain criminal records, background checks, and more.
I think people should be very upset about this. They should ask, why is this company, why do they have all of that information? And when they had it, who was making sure that they were protecting it?
Lou Raban, CEO of Cyber Defense Group, told us this is a big deal and Americans should be concerned. However, he also acknowledged that because this type of thing seems to happen so frequently, a lot of people, including some we talked to Wednesday in Northwest, have what Raban refers to as breach fatigue.
I try to be concerned, but it's really difficult nowadays. Like, it's impossible.
You kind of feel like your information's already out there.
Yeah, I think so.
Welcome, everyone, to the Wake Up Call channel. The Psyops continue to roll in. If you haven't heard, just like mentioned in that clip, breach fatigue is becoming a thing because every other day we're hearing a story about some massive cyber attack going on, whether it's hacking into our Social Security numbers, which is the latest propaganda being pushed, or AT&T suddenly giving out all of its users' data, or that CrowdStrike thing that happened a couple of weeks ago, where the internet was offline for a period of time. Or it could even be when those 911 phone lines happen to be down. This is all being done by design. There is no man hiding in a factory or a warehouse somewhere who has nothing better to do than wants to hack into American citizens' personal information, get their security numbers, get their address. I guess they just want to show up at our homes, right? This is the government doing this to us because the government, the global government, like I mentioned in a previous video, if you didn't see on the digital ID, which I've been mentioning for years and years and years, the global government wants you to have a digital ID/passport. And they know that you are not going to comply with that. There's no reason for you to comply, right? The regular person just goes, I don't really need that. Everything's fine the way it is. So by more chaos every single day, creating these stories, these fabricated stories where there's never a person, it's always a boogeyman, they get you on board with wanting a digital ID because you get so scared into thinking that your Social Security is out there, your number's out there, that somebody's going to hack into your bank account, that you go on board with what the global government wants. And it's total control. The digital ID is the end game. And what you're going to see next is a run on propaganda stories from the alt-right media. This is why I talk so much about how the left-right divide is fabricated. The alt-right media is a gatekeeper. If the people out there woke up to the left-right divide, they'd start seeing these stories for what they really are. That these people are keeping us divided, they're having us infighting, all looking at each other, pointing fingers at each other about this or that, or whose skin color is what, or what gender this person is, when they're trying to push these things across. And the Social Security data breach is another major psyop. Newsflash, if you've used the internet, if you've put your Social Security number out there, if you even have a Social Security number, you're already compromised because these laws that are in place that you think are there to protect you and your Social Security number, you are not protected from the global government. They have all of our data. They know all the things we say. We know of the Patriot Act. They're listening 24/7. We're putting devices in our home that gives them the ability to listen, all for convenience, right? Whether it's the Echo or a cell phone, they're listening and they know what we're thinking out loud, what we're saying out loud, they're listening to. They have our Social Security numbers. This entire thing is to get you prepared for a digital ID, telling us that 2.7 billion records allegedly have been compromised. And I talk about the left-right because what the right media is going to do is they're going to talk about voter fraud. Voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud, because they've gotten them so obsessed with each psychological operation they've created around Donald Trump that all their mind is focusing on is Donald Trump saving them from all of this stuff, so he has to get put in power. They don't remember that nothing was done when Trump was in power, that Trump is the one who rolled out Operation Warp Speed, that Trump is the one who actually brought about internet censorship, because it all happened in 2017 when he was the president of the United States of America. So they're focused on that, and they're going to get led into the digital ID as well. They're going to get duped into this because they're going to be told about voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud. Illegals are voting. That's how they're winning the election. They can't wrap it around their heads that the elections aren't real. The entire thing is compromised. This is an American corporation, okay? And they want you to vote because they want you to opt in. So this story about the Social Security numbers is out there and everybody's panicking about it. Remember, the Great Reset is at hand. For people out there that think that the Great Reset's already happened, for people out there that think that the Mark of the Beast has been implemented and it's here because it's people who took magic potions, they clearly are jumping to conclusions. All these things are precursors. The Great Reset is still occurring. There are stages and steps in this process. The magic potion rollout was not the mark of the beast. It was a test run to see how many people would comply and how many people would put stuff inside their body, how many people synced up with the system. If it was the mark, then people like me and you wouldn't be able to buy or sell right now, would we? I've been able to buy or sell pretty easily for a while, but without the digital ID, you're not gonna be able to buy or sell. And that's what this transition is all about. I just covered Australia and the rollout of the digital ID. The digital ID is necessary globally. Even recently, the World Economic Forum's new president, the one who's replacing Klaus Schwab, one of those guys you can look at and you know that there's some sick things brewing inside this guy's mind. You can just look at these people, how fake they look. I mean, they just look like they're into very sick, disturbing acts. And this guy's somebody I've always looked at, Borg Brende, as one of those sick people. But here's a compilation of the clips from the World Economic Forum talking about the digital ID and how the digital ID is needed. The digital ID is needed. And listen to all the underlying themes, right? Equity. These are all things I've warned about, right? Equity, inclusion. This is to dupe dumb minds into going along and complying and wanting enslavement via the digital ID. So they tell you it's, these countries that can't get anything, they don't get any help. Right? They're like, oh, these third world countries, they don't get any help from anybody. We want to help them. So naturally, people are like, yeah, we should help them. They don't look this way or that way and say, hey, how much did it cost to do the Olympics? Oh, that was how many $1 billion? Couldn't you have just helped the third world country? Oh, don't ask questions like that. No. We're going to help them by having a digital ID. That way we can make sure that they, they can bank and do all this. Oh, that sounds great. Sign them up. Because nobody's thinking at all. They're just listening to these people, smiling, thinking, oh, well, they're talking about helping people. Oh, they don't sound loud and angry like Donald. I'm in, right? The inclusion stuff, all of these things that are circulating around us are all psyops to get you on board with the digital ID. Listen to some of these clips from the World Economic Forum, including being able to track who has the potion, who doesn't have the potion. And more importantly than all those things is the carbon footprint, which I put in there, because the carbon footprint and the digital ID are one and the same. All of this stuff you hear, these whispers that they're conditioning you with the climate. If you haven't been paying attention, which most people don't seem to understand the climate agenda, and we all know the gatekeeping of the alt-right media with the climate agenda, they won't tell you about weaponized weather. They won't tell you about the carbon footprint and what it really means. They just go, they're climate cultists. It's a cult of climate. It's coming. They're going to continue to use weaponized weather, which is real, which we see every single day up in our skies, if you're paying attention with geoengineering. They are going to use that and convince people that the climate stuff is real. And then when the digital ID is in place, of course, they'll roll out the carbon footprint. And then suddenly you won't be able to buy things. You won't be able to do transactions because your carbon footprint will be too high. You'll be enslaved in your home, or we'll call it quarantined in your home. So here's some clips from the World Economic Forum talking about the digital ID.
Yeah, I was there last week. And India is growing this year, we think, more than 7%. That was also the growth last year. And what was at the core of this growth in India? It was that they were very well positioned in a situation where now digital trade and services do grow much faster. But they also started with something that was a key for unlocking this, was the digital IDs. So, as we know, 1.4 billion people all have their unique digital ID. So when a grandmother in Assam wires money on her cell to her grandson or granddaughter in Delhi, it's not a problem, and it's happening every day.
So this notion of actually getting sort of a coordination among ministries have actually really advanced the issues.
Sure.
Why? Because in order to open an account, you need to have an ID.
Right.
And I have to say that when I started this job, there were actually very little countries in Africa or Latin America that had one ubiquitous type of ID, and certainly that it was digital, and certainly that it was biometric. And we've really worked with all our partners to actually help that being, to grow this. And the interesting part of it is that, yes, it is very necessary for financial services, but not only.
Sure.
It's also good for school enrollment. It's also good for health, who actually got a vaccination or not. It's very good to get your subsidies, from the government. So this has not only effect to the financial services. It's a very important issue.
Sure.
Digitalization has played, of course, a very important role.
I think this issue to do with the technology and the digital infrastructure, I just want to emphasize how important I think that is. Because in the end, you need the data. You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line will be multiple. There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have a proper digital infrastructure. And many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's, where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
So this entire story is fabricated as far as your social security number goes. The more fear that they can create, the more they know you will comply. And that's why that quote from just a regular civilian in that clip about breach fatigue is becoming a thing. Because the more they wear you down with this stuff, the more you hear every day about a cyber attack, people just go, whatever at this point, right? The first time they heard one, they went, a data breach, oh my goodness, I better do this or that. No, don't worry about it. The government's going to come in and help you and save you. What do they want me to do? Nothing. You don't do anything except just get your digital ID. So you get everything online, agree to it, and go along with it. Okay, then I won't have to hear these stories anymore. I'm fatigued from it. Nope, you won't have to hear it anymore. You'll be fully under our control then. You won't be able to make a purchase without us knowing about it. We'll be able to freeze your assets. We'll be able to monitor every single breath and step you take, because technically a digital ID is like this wearable technology. They'll be monitoring your footsteps, everything, every breath, your heartbeat, all of it. Because eventually, if you haven't noticed how this is working, the digital ID at first, when they roll it out, people are going to be doing it on their phones. And they're going to go, oh, it's just, what's the big deal? I do all this stuff on my phone anyway. And then the next step, of course, after the digital ID, which they're telling us needs to be accepted by 2028, 2030, otherwise we could risk exclusion from society. That's what Bill Gates and all these guys keep saying. Again, that was something that was part of the magic potion. They said, we're going to exclude people who don't go along with this from society. We're going to lock them out from society. But eventually this goes from your phone into your body. And the real hacking that everybody should be worrying about isn't this social security number, people getting access to your address. What you should be worrying about is them hacking your genetic code, hacking the inside of your body, because they've openly talked about this. And when you connect the dots, you see where this is going, right? Get your digital ID, and then eventually all this stuff we've heard at the World Economic Forum about humans being hackable animals, you start to realize, wait a minute, they want us to get this stuff embedded in us. They want to get it embedded us, but they're also talking about hacking human beings. Yeah, well, obviously none of these clips and none of this stuff from the World Economic Forum is going to make the news, because the news is there to control you. So everything you hear on the news is to get you to accept the things they want you to accept. But if you listen out in the open, part of universal law, they tell us everything they have planned for us. If you listen to what they say, they're talking about, don't worry about your social security being hacked, but we're going to hack human beings in the future. And to get you to comply, we're going to need you to first get away from cash, get away from paper, have a digital ID, a digital passport with everything on it. And then eventually that digital ID, when your phone goes inside your body, well, the digital ID will be embedded in you, and then you'll be a hackable animal.
A really big thing is hacking human beings. To hack human beings, you need a lot of biological knowledge, a lot of computing power, and especially a lot of data. If you have enough data about me and enough computing power and biological knowledge, you can hack my body, my brain, my life. You can reach a point when you know me better than I know myself. And once you reach that point, and we are very close to that point, then democracy, the free market as we have, and actually all political systems, also authoritarian regimes, we have no idea what happens once you pass that point. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. Free will, that's over.
That's over.
Over. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Yeah, I mean, everything is being digitalized, everything is being monitored. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste, because a crisis is an opportunity to also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to. But in a crisis, you see, we have no chance. So let's do it.
Vaccine won't help us go to the test, of course.
The vaccine will help us, of course. It will make things, more manageable. Surveillance. People could look back in 100 years and identify the coronavirus epidemic as the moment when a new regime of surveillance took over, especially surveillance under the skin, which I think is maybe the most important development of the 21st century, is this ability to hack human beings, to go under the skin, collect biometric data, analyze it, and understand people better than they understand themselves. This, I believe, is maybe the most important event of the 21st century.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us. The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take a genetic editing, right. Just as an example, it's you who are changed. Yeah. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
Yeah. And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. When you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you are changing what it means to be human.
That's the problem. And of course, the new industrial revolution offers us many opportunities, but it raises manifold questions on the ethical, but even legal implications. And we have to be prepared for it, and that's what we want to do in Davos next year.
Talk about technology and how the ways it can be deployed, that contribute to growth rather than exacerbate unemployment. How will that implement itself?
It's a big question mark, because there is a fear that technology, robots, just to take one
you gain productivity from machines.
Exactly, and it replaces maybe the workforce or jobs faster than we can replace them with new jobs. Not everybody can be a robot polisher and so on, so there will be new jobs.
So this is the transition we're seeing, right? We're currently in a society where we all have been forced into social security numbers, right? For the most part. I mean, anybody listening probably has a social security number, right? Compliance, compliance, compliance. And now this old infrastructure, I've talked about that. The infrastructure has to be destroyed. And the only way they could destroy the infrastructure is by sabotage. And that's what you see going on. The left and the right are working together to sabotage infrastructure around the earth. They destroy the infrastructure and they come in with a new infrastructure, a digital infrastructure. That's what it is a digital infrastructure. Everything is run digitally, which is why all these towers are up. Well, one of the reasons all these towers are up. We know the other reasons with these towers, of course. But eventually those towers will be controlling you, as you saw at the end of the video when we talk about hackable animals, right? And all those clips I've shown you from Stretch Armstrong and the cartoons showing you how human beings are hackable animals and how they'll use those towers to be able to control humans.
Matrix. Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
Future, you will have such a good digital twin that you'll be able to go into the metaverse, into a virtual reality world, turn a dial, pull a switch, feel around, and actually change it in the real plant?
Absolutely. And this is not far off. I mean, the physical and the digital worlds, they will grow together, and the result is exactly what you just said.
I wanted to ask when you all think we're going to move from this form factor to something that's on your face, glasses, and when computing's all on the edge.
All right, 50 seconds. Who wants to answer quickly?
I think it will go. It will. First of all, it will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface. Wow. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
Stunned by the sudden rollout of Rook Unlimited's most fantastic device ever, the Smart Mark. Because the Smart Mark is more than just a phone. It's part of you. Use it as cash and even shoot video. Distribution points are all over the city. The Rook Unlimited Smart Mark is worth the wait.
The Smart Mark has brought order to my life.
And the best part? It's absolutely free.
23% of the population has been given the Smart Mark, number one.
Time to test our system, numbers. Put our new recruits to work. Subtly.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
I ought to find the Flex Fighters.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
You call yourself a man of science. World order is our destiny. Submit to a Smart Mark and join the glorious victory of order over chaos.
People think Smart Marks are brand new Rook tech that will improve their lives.
But your chip makes it possible to control everyone in Charter City, whether they're marked or not.
That's what the future looks like. And it starts with compliance to a digital ID. But the majority of sheeple out there will have breach fatigue. That's why I use that clip. They've aired the same, the same propaganda on every single news station today, right? Because the editors file it out. They want every single local news affiliate, every single mainstream to talk about how your social security number was hacked so that you're nervous and you're scared. And they interviewed some random person who said, I have breach fatigue. Everybody's tired of hearing about all these hacks. We need to do something about it, right? And you would think to yourself, well, what does all these agencies in the government actually do? Well, what they do is they spy on you. They hack into your stuff. They're, in fact, the ones who are hacking in your stuff, but there's not really a hacking that's going on. So they create psyops, and they tell you that there's boogeymen in Russia, there's boogeymen there. What's their motive? They don't need a motive. They don't like the way Americans smell. Oh, okay. So then they went in and they hacked everybody, and what are they going to do? Oh, they're going to sell it, and they're going to do this or that. All this stuff that psychologically wears people out. That is one of the the things that people don't think about with warfare, guerrilla warfare, just basic forms of warfare. Fatigue, story after story after story, forcing you into compliance from exhaustion, right? Even in Albert Pike's blueprint on World War III, one of the things was forcing, during the divide between the Islamic State and Israel, that people are going to choose sides, and it's going to go on and on and on. And people are just going to be so fatigued and exhausted from war. Well, that's what they do with all this stuff. They continually are pumping this at you. They're pushing it at, oh, there's another data breach. A couple of weeks ago, CrowdStrike. A couple of weeks ago, AT&T. A couple of weeks ago, this. A couple of weeks ago, that. 911 wasn't. Okay, it's enough. What do we do to stop it? I don't want to hear about it anymore. Well, we have the answer. Problem, reaction, solution. We have the answer. The digital ID. Oh, what is the? Well, it's the same thing. Instead, it's encrypted. Those are the words you're going to hear. It's encrypted on the back end. and your brain doesn't know what, you're just like, what? Yeah, it's encrypted, so nobody can hack it. It's unique to you. It's your own unique specific one. Nobody has access to it, right? Don't worry about, even the notion of the Psyop, of how all these corporations have all of our data and how they buy and sell it, which should be illegal. It just shows you that we've consented to the American corporation. People should be upset about that, but they're not. They're too distracted with nonsense. They're too distracted with thinking that this stuff that's getting pushed on them about their vote counting. This is how they force compliance. They make you feel like you're invested in the left, right, that you're going to change things with your vote, and then they create psyops around it that force you into compliance without you even realizing it, because the conservatives have to be forced into this. Remember, I talked about this with the technology and the digital infrastructure. Trump using terms like freedom cities. This is all deliberate. Because if Trump said smart cities, conservatives would wake up and go, whoa, I don't want to be a part of that. Oh, it's a freedom city. Oh, okay, and what's in a freedom city? Well, it's it's a free city. We won't have immigrants invading our freedom city. Oh, okay, and how are we going to protect ourselves from the immigrants? Well, digital ID. Oh, okay, well, what's the difference with a smart city and a freedom city? Well, these people won't think past that because they've been trained to stop at the immigrant. It's all psychological, right? The other stuff with the technology, I just constantly am talking about Elon Musk being linked in now with conservatives. They don't realize they're being they're not being gatekept. They're being literally manipulated into being okay with all this technology stuff as long as the person's not a liberal. That's all they care about, right? While they're pushing this stuff onto us and then forcing us into compliance. Eventually, like you heard, they've been talking about it for such a long time, about the digital ID. They want it. They have to have it. They don't expect you to willfully, as a civilian, say, I'm going to go get a digital, I'm going to sign up for it, I'm going to do this. They have to force you into it. So they create psyops out there and then say, look, these people are conspiracy nuts who are saying this about the digital ID. We're doing this to protect you from all these, boogeymen that are hacking you, that never have a face, that are just out there. They have no motive, anything like that. We just, we're here to protect it. And they go, oh, okay, yeah, those people are conspiracy nuts. What they're thinking is too much for me to think. I need to continue to drink my fluoride water. And I need to be, continue not to look up at the chemicals that are being dumped on me from the sky and the geoengineering. Go, yep, they're here to protect me, right? They want a digital ID. They have to have a digital ID. It's part of the Great Reset, okay? Digital infrastructure. So they're sabotaging everything around us. They're nuking it around us to bring about the digital infrastructure, which is digital global enslavement. It's as simple as that. And people out there won't hear it. They're like, I don't know, because it's going to be marketed to them. Look, they're masters of mind control and manipulation, right? That's why they're going forward with this. They're not going to come out and say, hey, this could be the mark of the beast. They're not going to come out and say, hey, this could be danger. They're going to come out and roll it out like it's this nice, easy, oh, yeah, transition, no big deal. It's easy for you. It's easy. That's all they do. They put these propaganda videos out where they're like, it's easy. You could transition into this. Your Social Security was hacked. Well, all you have to do is this. If we go forward here, all you got to do is that. That's it. And, you'll be protected. Okay. Right? And then they'll be like, look, it was easy. These people are conspiracy nuts. They're thinking too much into it, right? And then little by little, more psyops and more psyops. And then eventually your digital ID, because the cell phone, like I've shown you a million times, it's getting transitioned to being inside your body. The wearable technology, them at the World Economic Forum talking about 6G. The next phase is that the cell phone is inside of you, okay? Well, if the cell phone's inside of you eventually, right? That's what they say. If the cell phone is inside of you, how are you going to hold your phone up for a digital ID when you go to the airport, right? They want you to, you're holding your phone up, you do all this stuff on your phone. Okay, fine, it's easy. It's the same thing as a wallet, right? Well, then the phone is gone, and then it's inside of you, and your digital ID is on your phone. Oh, right. So it's then inside of you. It's embedded in your genetic code, gene editing. You constantly hear this term gene editing, but nobody thinks anything about it, right? Oh, okay, so biometric data, it's embedded in your body. And then your body really becomes the QR code in a sense, right? You can go in and out of places, just get scanned. You don't have to hold up a phone anymore. And then you become their hackable animal. Mark of the beast, anyone? Anyone still think it's Sunday law? It's fine if you do, but you better pay attention to this, because this is the most important thing out there, is the digital ID. If we allow them to implement this, people like me and you, they're going to make it very difficult for us to live. And I know people out there are like, all right, we got to get away. We got to get off grid. You got to think 10 steps ahead. You don't think I've thought about, getting a group of people like-minded out in the wilderness somewhere? Okay, you will be the next Waco. the second they get wind of it, they're listening right now. They go, okay, here's where they're going. We're going to create a massive psyop around it and a false flag. So we're going to tell everybody out there, this group of people decided that they've left the grid. We're not going to tell them that these people left because, they don't want to participate and it's their human right to get out of the system. We're going to tell them that they left because they think the government's dangerous. They're all armed. They're all in the woods. They hate everybody. They're crazy Christian nationalists. And then they'll just create story after story after story and say, oh, the government needs to intervene. And all the people out there go get them. Go get them. I don't want to get they're dangerous out there. Bada bing, bada boom, right? So what we have to do is get people aware of this, which is why I've been trying to pull them out of the left-right divide. Because the conservatives are going to be marketed and manipulated into this as well. Don't forget with Operation Warp Speed how all these conservatives conveniently forget who rolled out the magic potion, right? I've talked about it a million times. How many of these people just bought into the Q Psyop, which is CIA operating? It's so it's ridiculous how easy it is. Not even how how easy it is to manipulate these people, right? They want to believe that these people like Trump are there to save them and pull them out of this, when all we really need is one another to become aware of this stuff and remove yourself from the technology to remove their stranglehold over all of us. That's why they've waited the last 15 years. That's why it's been quiet. There's been psyops, there's been false flags, there's been programming, but they've waited because they needed you and me to get so reliant on technology, where we get up, we go on our phone, we go on our computer, we get all our information from there, we do our banking from there, then we do our communicating from there, because after that outbreak, most people just do Zoom calls now. They don't go out and see people, right? It becomes a part of your daily life. It becomes impossible to separate. And then we've given the compliance of our bank accounts and everything else online. How do we get off, right? And now they can go forward because they go, no one's going to go offline. No one's going to give up their tech. Even these conservatives are obsessed with their phone. They're not going to do it. So now we can move forward and we can force them into compliance by creating psyops all around them, making them not focus on what the digital ID, the dangers of it, by telling them, hey, illegals are coming in and voting, and that's why Democrats keep winning. Well, now we need a digital ID. We could stop them from, okay, give me a digital ID, says the conservative. I don't want these illegals to win. Instead of going, hey, do you ever think for a second the entire thing is fake? You think they have all this money, all this power, but they let you vote these people in? And it's very clear they're making it overly obvious with the people they're putting in, starting really with Obama, but even Biden, right? These are people that would never win in a million years. And look at all the other countries. Look at the guy that's won in the UK. These people would never, ever win an election. They make you think that they would, that there's all these people out there that would vote for them. They would never win, these people. They're placed in these positions. They want you to think that it's your neighbor who's voting them in. If you're not, that it's a large group of people that you don't know about who are voting them in. As long as you stay, thinking that your vote counts, you stay enslaved to the system. So if people out there started realizing all this stuff, we could pull back, but they won't. Conservatives are going to get duped into this because they're going to get the migrant stuff. And you hear all the stuff going on with the monkeypox, which I just covered, right? All this stuff about the monkeypox. The first thing that all these people are thinking about is a stolen election. That's it. They're like, oh, this election's going to get stolen. They're rolling out a virus already. It's it. It's over, right? That's what they're thinking. Oh, they're going to cancel the election. They're obsessed with it. Because they want to be obsessed with it, because it's been pumped into them for so long that, America's free and you're in a corporation. And by voting, you're opting into the corporation. But moving forward, the digital ID, like I said in the Australia video, the timing of this was impeccable, right? I just covered Australia and the digital ID, which I've been covering for a while. But literally 24 hours later, we have the Social Security breach, right? And then you look at the story, you got to say to yourself, okay, there's social security breach. What are they trying to get me to think or feel? Oh, the digital ID, right? There's the answer. Problem, reaction, solution. The digital ID is a main ingredient and component of this, and they don't want you to realize it. They want you to think it's just a seamless transition. You already do stuff on your phone. What's the big deal? Instead of holding up a physical wall, you hold up your phone. Hey, conservatives, they won't be able to steal the election this way. Oh, really? Okay, let's get a digital ID. That's all it takes. Simple as that for these people to fall into the psyops. Incredible, right? But guess what? You're the hackable animal. Your digital ID is just the start. Eventually, the digital ID is biometric, and it's in you. It's not just a fingerprint. It's not just a retina scan. It's your DNA. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you, as always, and your families.